Welcome to the 1 Second at a Time podcast, where we go on a real-time self-journey of self-love and self-healing. I'm your host, King Concept.
And I'm your co-host, Marcus Mintz.
And in today's episode, called The Wounded Healer, we'll be discussing people like Marcus and myself who, though we go through our own things in life, sometimes we give more than we receive, and we just help people to sometimes with self-sabotaging. But we'll get more into depth with that.
Yeah, it's the thing that I feel like a lot of people go through where, and it's like phases. You're not always this way. You're not always a healer. Sometimes you need the healing yourself. But a lot of times the people that go through things, and especially later in life and the older you get, you take on these wounds, even though you're still healing people, and that obviously will affect you. So Concept and I want to give you a real in-time journey, progressing and reflecting on life experiences that we faced, or faced in the past, facing currently, in the hopes that, some of y'all watching and listening can grow with us as we all embark on our own journeys. It's kind of what this is all about. It's not like we're talking from a perspective of, oh, we faced this and now we're over it. We're all people going through the stuff in real time. So, hopefully you can take some away from this.
Yeah, well, we hope you all watching can find something that you can relate to on your own journeys and grow with us throughout this podcast. So without further ado, welcome to The Wounded Healer.
All right, brother, I guess, let's start with you. What does that even mean? What is a wounded healer?
I feel like wounded healer is kind of one of those terms. It's just defined by the people in their own journey and what they're going through in life. For instance, like I said in the beginning of my opener, to me, a wounded healer is someone like myself who I'm always down to be there for somebody. If you need anything, I'm there. And sometimes I can be going through a really bad, depressing episode. But if you need something, I'm going to hold that in and I'm going to look out for you. And in return, I'm not going to ask back. I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm sad today. Or I'm not going to be like, oh, I can't give you $10 because I only got $15 to my name. It's a good trait and it has its bad qualities as well. At least that's what I take of wounded healer meaning. What about you?
Okay. Similar. I think there's a lot of self-sacrifice that's involved in that. And it's not even like you want to do that. It's more like, again, you're wounded, but you never address your wounds because you keep healing other people's wounds and trying to help them address theirs. But if you just leave yours unaddressed for so long, it's only going to fester and get infected. Like what happens with a physical wound? You know what I mean? So I feel like even as a healer, once you're wounded, there's only so far or so long you can go being that way. Because like you said, if you have $15, you give 10, and then you down the road need 10, well, now you're kind of stuck in a place where there is no choice anymore, So it's one of the things where, it's a double-edged sword, because it's still good to be a healer, but if you never address your wounds, then, it almost comes back to bite you in a bad way. And that's, the best way I can explain it. It's almost like a healer who once they're wounded is also hurting themselves if they continue to just be wounded.
No, I agree. I mean, shoot, I'm in a situation now where ripping the Band-Aid off a little bit, As you know, we've talked about this a few times personally before we even started this podcast, how I'm going through a breakup that it was about almost 8 years at this point. And, crazy enough, it's breakup season. I know so many people, friends, family, that are all going through breakups right now.
Hot outside.
It is hot outside. I call you, I talk to you about a lot of this, and I'll get a little bit more in depth in that in a little bit. But again, like I said, other people that are going through breakups now, I'm being there for them. I'm talking to them, they don't know this is what I'm feeling right now, but I'm telling it to them as a way of helping them. And I'm not asking for the return, I'm they'll sit there and be like, oh, I feel so sad, I can't get out of bed today. I feel that too, but I'm not reaching out to people being like, hey, I'm sad today, I need a partner, I need someone to talk to, I need a distraction. I'm not doing that, but I'm giving that to so many others.
I see. Well, why do you think that is? Do you think that's because you haven't expressed that need in the same way they do? Like you said, they'll reach out and say, I'm feeling super depressed right now, da-da-da. Do you think that's because you don't ever explicitly say that? Or do you think it's more you're taking on so much of other people's stuff that you don't feel like you have the space to say that?
I feel like it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
There comes a time where a part of you where people are going through things, and it's just a mental hurdle that we as humans have to get over, and it's just one of those, like, you want to be there and you don't want to be a burden in return. But I know, like, I'm not going to be a burden to you. I know this. It's just the feeling of being a burden, you know? Like, you're going through your problems, so why should I add my problems to you? Even though on the flip side, I'm going through my problems, but I love being there for all my people. And I know I have friends like that, like you. That's why we're doing this. That it doesn't matter. And you're going to slap me in the face and be like, Justin, come on, stop it. And, it's just a mental block, I feel like.
Oh yeah, you know me. My favorite thing is like, I'll be like, "How are you?" Someone's like, "I'm fine." I'm like, "All right, but how are you really?" Come on now, you can drop that with me.
Off.
Yeah, take the mask off real quick. How are you really? And right. I mean, I say all this, and like, I'm not absolved from it. I do the same shit. I'll keep shit buried for so long that my boyfriend Gray has to tell me like, "Hey, bro, like, you're going through it right now. You may not even be aware that you're going through it." And part of the times, like, especially in this type of case where you're like a wounded healer, it almost becomes an almost like unawareness. You're so aware of everything else. You almost become unaware. So Gray has told me where I'll exhibit like physical signs when I'm going through stuff that I'm not even super conscious of. Like, I'll shake and like I'll do certain things, you know what I mean? And in the present, that current moment, that didn't even cross my mind that my body is reacting to something that I've been holding in, you know?
Oh yeah, I think that's kind of a play on like people not really fully understanding how to manage their own emotions. And when you're helping out somebody who's going through something, I feel like, to me personally, I could be wrong, I feel like it's one of those, you're not being overly emotional. Like, yeah, you're emotional, you care, you're bothered that somebody's going through something, but I feel like there's a difference between being emotional toward others and dealing with your own self-emotions. Because helping you out, I'm not dealing with my own emotions. It's kind of me putting my emotions to the back of my head. Like me feeling tired, not wanting to get out of bed, losing interest in PlayStation, was losing interest in playing basketball on the courts randomly, going out on hikes. Like, I have to process those emotions to be able to get back to that lifestyle. But for somebody else, like if you were to call me tomorrow and be like, "Hey, I could really use a friend. Can we meet up at a bar?" I'm there. But for myself, I just don't do that.
And I feel like that speaks to a bunch of things. That could be a fear. That could be almost like helping other people can almost be used as an escape sometimes to avoid facing your own shit, you know?
Yeah.
It's almost like, all right, that pile looks crazy over there, but this pile just appeared in front of me, and I can almost, all of my emotional investment, it's like you look at this pile over here and you're like, yo, this looks crazy. I do not want to deal with all the shit that comes with unraveling that. But over here is this other person's pile where I can almost like emotionally, not detach, but it's just different. Like, it becomes external rather than internal, even though the external person from this person may make you like process or like bring up some of your own internal shit. It's never as heavy as you just turning to this side and dealing with that pile that's over there that you haven't dealt with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's daunting. Like, yeah, and the more you let it pile up, the worse the pile's gonna get when you do have to wade through it to get back to your, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I mean, like you said to me on the phone one day that I thought was really interesting that I'm just sharing for the community watching was on the same thing. It's like sometimes we got a lot on our plate and we just keep adding things to our plate. And what happens when you add too much to your plate? It starts overfilling. If you got a paper plate, it's going to bend in half and all your food's going to spill all over the floor. And now you have a mess. And it's kind of understanding how to scrape a little bit off your plate, little by little, just so you don't overstuff. Before it becomes a mess.
Like we just said, it's not even scraping it off your plate. It's looking to your left and right and realizing that there's a person next to you with their played out, being like, hey, you can put some of it on mine. It's cool. You don't have to scrape it into the trash. Just give me what you don't want.
Oh yeah. So with all of this, if, obviously this whole point is about sharing some deep emotional feelings, but with anything, I don't know if there's something you're going through like at this specific moment or something very recently, but is there something that you're wanting to share now at this moment that's like learning how to heal, whether you've healed from it already or you're in a process of healing from it, or you're just trying to navigate and just trying to, even if it's just something you haven't even thought about that you're just like, I just want to get it off my chest.
Give me a second on that.
No, you're good. Because this is something that, with this answer, it was kind of more or less that I'm looking for is like, whatever it is, whether you've learned to heal from it or not, how do you feel like it plays into you helping others? Like maybe you haven't dealt with it and it's one of those that just helping somebody else puts it in the back of your head like we were just talking about. Or maybe you did learn how to heal from it and you are helping based off of your experience, which everybody's experience is different. Or maybe you're just learning right now on the spot and the little things you were learning, you're just giving the breadcrumbs.
I feel like it's definitely that last one you said, but I think what's really been like on my mind and something that maybe I don't really express to other people is like, it's not even uncertainty, but it's almost like a fear of, I guess this is a good way to put it. I feel like, and a lot of people probably experience this, I could be wrong, but I feel like a lot of people experience this, but there's so many different aspects within life that come with like an unknown and uncertainty, and like, to me, that's like
the fear of the
that I
unknown.
usually suppress. Where it's like, all right, like right now, financially, like sure, I'm not like down bad, but like I'm not doing great. You know what I mean? So it's that like,
Yeah.
I know I have all these things in place, but what if this doesn't work out? What if this doesn't get better? Do I have the backup plan for this? And it almost becomes like a overwhelming thing, where then my brain is like, all right, I just need to turn to something else, and that's why I usually end up. And again, like you can take the lessons I've learned from dealing with this throughout life and the breadcrumbs that I spread to others, but it's still like, have I dealt with that? Or am I just kind of like picking this little piece out and then be like, all right, I'm going to leave that over there and go deal with this, and then coming back to it, or it comes back to me in a situation where something does happen that's out of your control / unknown, and then like you pushed it so far off that now you have to deal with it face to face, and that's even more jarring. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I feel like I deal with that dance in life recently, and just haven't really probably expressed it to many people.
Well, first time for everything. That's what the 1 second at a time podcast is all about.
Yeah,
it's our
that's weird.
journey
It feels
too.
weird to say out loud, dude. I'm not gonna lie. That's strange.
Right. No, I think I'm kind of a little bit on the same page as well. Is I'm still I'm about 3 months from my breakup at this point. And like I said, about 8 years going through that, and I'm definitely,
just to clarify, it's 8 years in a relationship and then 3 months of a breakup so far.
Yes, yeah. It's like 7.5 years and 3 months of a breakup, yeah. And it's just kind of, it was a weird time. It was we used to live in Atlanta, Georgia. Now I'm down here in West Palm Beach, Florida, and it was just a weird time. Like, everything was fine. Well, not everything was fine. We were having our issues, and I came down to Florida, and we were supposed to move by the summertime, and I was just making the move first. And it was just a kind of, like you were saying, sometimes we just bottle it up and put too much on a plate. And it was going through, we were working at a brewery, which, Atlantucky, if you're from Atlanta and you're in Atlanta, 10 out of 10, best beers down there. I'll argue
best
anybody
beers,
to the day.
wings, pizza, paninis.
Bartenders, vibes, energy, best everything. Like, if you're trying to have a time, yes.
Oh, yeah. Atlantucky's
Yes.
a time, for sure. We got the vibes.
But I was a bar back there. We come from the industry. That's where Marcus and I have met at the film industry, and we made pretty great money doing that. And then the strikes came, and then, the industry kind of died, and so we had to turn to other work. And making a bar back is $5 an hour in tips. You're not really making that much. And that's not a lot of money to make to move to another state.
Nah.
It's not. It's not. And then on top of that, like, I suffer from Crohn's disease, so to take on more responsibility and more jobs, that's usually putting a lot of stress on my body that starts triggers. And I've had some flare ups during my time. But fast forward, the move comes, I'm going down first. I have iffy relationship with my family down here. Sometimes it's pretty decent, and sometimes it is mentally draining. And it was just kind of one of those for the last few months of from like December to March. It was kind of like, dang, I got to move down. I met this amazing family in Atlanta with you and all of Atlantucky. Again, shout out. Some of the best people I met in my life. I gave up on my dream in film. I'm trying to get myself right medically. My kids are down here. So, that was a big highlight. Look at that just falling apart behind me. My kids are down here, so that was a big highlight. But it was just so much mentally I put on my plate, and I kind of just shut down mentally and opening up about how I was feeling about the move, how I was feeling about leaving you guys, how I was feeling about being in this environment. Like, when I moved to Atlanta for the first time, I swore I would never come back. Obviously coming back to visit my kids and all that, but I swore I would never move back. So now going back on that, like, it was just a lot. And as I was saying in the beginning of the podcast, I didn't want to be a burden because I know my ex was doing a lot for me and she was helping and doing so much. And I just didn't want to add more to her plate. I wanted to do this battle on my own. So fast forward, we moved down here and some shit went down. And all those months of bottling up of those emotions just came out, and it was bad. And since then, been doing my therapy, started working on this with you, started learning a lot about myself and a lot that I didn't like about myself and how that wasn't okay. And so, here we are now. I'm learning, growing, and with all of this, I do tend to try to tell people, like, who are going through relationship issues, because I recognize what I did wrong. And I tell them, hey, don't do this. You don't want to lose a great person. My brother has issues. I tell him, hey, you have a great one. Don't do what I did. So it's just kind of taking the accountability now. It's kind of where I'm at, where while I'm learning this accountability and things I should have been better at for myself. And for that, it's just kind of like I'm kind of trying to help others not make the same mistakes I am while recognizing my own toxic traits and patterns that I was doing to kill that side of me.
Yeah. And I think it's important what you just said, where, like, it's almost the opposite of what we said the wounded healer does. The person that, like, keeps their wound, doesn't address it, and just heals everyone else. You took the next step where eventually you have to do that self-reflection. You have to have that kind of self-awareness to look at, like, oh, shit, because I didn't address this, this is how it came out. Whoa. Like, for example, when I hold shit down, I'll probably be more agitated. There's all sorts of stuff that you do unconsciously and consciously when you're not dealing with the shit that your brain and heart knows you need to deal with. Whether you like it or not, you're not going to be able to hide it for so long. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. That's literally what happened. I was getting agitated. I was getting upset. I was getting irritated for months. And it took me losing my ex-fiance to recognize. If we would have stayed together, I wouldn't have been able to take this accountability. I had to lose that part of myself in order to force myself to see the bigger picture. Otherwise, I don't think I would have been this emotionally open, this accountable. I wouldn't have done therapy for sure because, I was so much in my head that she told me some things she had issues with, but, I was just so mentally in 50 different avenues that it just felt like too much to deal at once. So I was just getting agitated with myself. I was just getting agitated with the situation, agitated moving to Florida. And, all that agitation, like you said, is exactly what I did. Exactly what I did. And I had to lose a lot. Again, I lost my family in Atlanta. I lost my ex. I lost my career in film. All of that in a day.
Fuck, dude. That's a lot. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. It's either sit down in bed and cry every night, which I did. But eventually you got to get up and brush your shoulders off. And you can get up and stay sad forever, or you can get up and figure it out.
Hey, just one step at a time, bro.
But moving on from that point, which obviously staying on the same stuff, is have you ever been in a situation where like you're doing so much for people that you feel like you're bleeding yourself dry? Maybe you haven't recognized it, and maybe during a conversation we can talk about it and recognize it on the spot. But when do you know when, if you have recognized when you're bleeding yourself dry, what are key aspects that we can use to differentiate the you're doing the right thing helping this person to you're doing too much, you're bleeding yourself out?
I think there's a few facets to that. There's an emotional one. Hell, I'll say three. An emotional one, almost like a beyond emotion and physical, like spiritual, and then the physical, right? Mm-hmm. So like I feel like the mental and almost spiritual aspect of it is like the way you recognize it is you can feel it in your energy. You can feel it in your day-to-day life. Like, do you have the capacity to do the things that you want to do still, or do you feel super drained? Do you have even just like emotional energy? Do you have what you need for your own life while also giving it to what you're giving it to? And then oftentimes, what I found, at least when I realized I was bleeding myself dry, is that I would wake up no matter how much I slept, I would wake up super exhausted. And not only exhausted, I would wake up almost anxious because it got to the point where I had so much shit I wasn't dealing with, while waking up with the knowledge that, okay, now I have to deal with everybody else's shit too. That almost becomes overwhelming. Like, at first it's an escape because you don't want to deal with this. But then when everybody else sees that you're the one to come to, they're going to come. And so, like, once that happens, now you have these two piles that are growing. And, like, that's even worse than just the one pile unaddressed, because you can only take in so much external stimuli while you have this blockage of internal stimuli, if that makes any sense. And I feel like in the past, like I said, like, it came in the form of, like, lacking energy, lacking emotional stability. Like, if you can't feel like you sit there and be okay, if you realize, wow, I feel like agitated all the time, or I feel anxious all the time, or I feel this all the time, that's usually a sign that something is out of whack. Whether it's internally out of whack or externally, something's out of balance is what I like to say when I feel that way. And then physically, like, I would say, just look at your life. Like, with the whole, I hate to make it about money because it's bigger than money, but it's the easiest analogy to give right now. With the whole $10, $15 thing that you said. If I give away this $10 and then the bill comes and I can't pay my bill, then yeah, I just bled myself dry. I'm pouring from an empty cup. Really?
Oh, yeah. I feel like, and on the money thing too, is I feel like another thing that people don't realize is bleeding themselves dry is the people that just keep asking, and it's not dismissing them, and it's not saying you don't want to be there for them, but like, if somebody comes up to you, like, all right, for you and I, for an example, right? And this is just an example, is working at Atlantucky, right? I make $5 an hour, right? So you come up to me, you know what my pay is, I'm paycheck to paycheck, and you're asking me for $10. I'm hurting. Cool, got you. 3 days later, can I get $25? Cool, got you. Another day, like 5 days later, $10. Cool, got you. Right? And at a certain point, you need to realize that although you feel like you are doing the right thing to help this person because you genuinely care about this person and want to help them, like, you gotta understand they are bleeding you dry because they are aware of your financial situations. They are aware that you really don't have that $20 and now you just give them like $100 in a week. And it's just one of those, like, money is a weird thing because I feel like a lot of people, once you say yes to letting people borrow money, then they're going to keep asking. And it's not bad to, help people out. Like, I've always tried to be the best way I can, paying people back. And I let them know, like, hey, I thought I could pay you back this week. I can only give you half. But I try to stay on top of it. I make sure that everybody knows their money's coming. But a lot of people won't. Like, a lot of people will just let it stack up, stack up, and stack up. And, if I gave you $100 and I know I needed $100 and you're like, I'll pay you in a month. And then now it's 3 months later and I ain't got it. I may have said I needed that in a month because I needed that for a bill. And then on the emotional side of bleeding yourself dry is I just feel like depression makes people really sad and like tired. You always feel tired. You always feel like you just want to lay down in bed. You might not feel like sleepy tired, but your body's just shutting down. And I just feel like if you're just putting too much energy into people and burying your own like issues, when it starts to feel exhausting physically to help somebody out because you're doing so much, you gotta understand that's bleeding yourself dry. And I'm not saying that to be an asshole or about it. It's just sometimes it's okay to say no. It's okay to say, hey, I can't go out today. Hey, I ain't got that 20. Like, it's okay to do that. And it's not saying you don't want to be there for the person, but the thing about a wounded healer is sometimes we forget we got to put ourselves first. At the end of the day, we have to put ourselves first. And if we just constantly putting other people first, our situation is just going to build up until it Jenga falls.
I mean, it's beyond like physically, but not with the money thing. But beyond that, it's things like your time, things like your emotional support. And it's not that it has to be a reciprocal 50-50. But again, there should be a balance there. It shouldn't be all take from one end without any awareness or even like the desire to be there for you in that way. Like once you establish that type of thing. You know what I mean? Like there should be a give and take. It's almost like a dance or like any type of relationship. It's a balance. And sometimes you're giving 20%, they're giving 80. Sometimes you're giving 90, they're giving 10. Sometimes you both are giving 50, but there should always be a little bit given back. It should never feel like I'm just giving, and not receiving anything.
Oh, yeah. And on top of that, too, I think this is one thing a lot of people really don't realize is I think sometimes when we give too much, we expect the same thing in return, right? But not everybody's the same. How others give, like you gotta recognize, like you and I, we're basically twins. Like we said,
we're pretty similar. We're pretty similar.
Like, our logical thinking, our stance, how we do things, like you and I are very similar. But most people, they're not like us. They don't have the same thought process as us. So people like you and I, where we go hard, and we'll just be like, during my breakup. You were over here like, hey, stay with me, stay on my couch, I got you, you were making me food, you looked out for me, blah, 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 blah. You got me, right? And, next time I came up, which is about a week or two ago, I made sure to put some stuff in your fridge, I made sure to look out for you, and, you and I recognize that type of like, but I feel like some people would be like, oh, I gave you a place to crash for like a week. Now I need like some money or whatever. And they're not going to see that, oh, this person just stopped my fridge. Like that person's giving. Like I guess in a way of sometimes when people expect to receive back what they give, they expect the same level and not this person is giving as much as they can at the moment.
I see. I mean, and it's like you said, everyone's different. So, like, even the way people give and receive is different. Like, some people don't think it, like you said, they don't think in terms of, oh, I can buy you food. They think purely in terms of money. Some people don't think in terms of money. They think, oh, I can give you so many rides to this place to help you out. Or I can even just, like I said, give you the gift of time and someone just sitting next to you. You know what I mean? So it's almost like, it's not a bad thing. It's literally that everybody's different. It's almost like the love language thing where everyone gives and receives love differently, and it's about navigating that and finding relationships where you do mesh, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, if
And
this person only gives this way and I can't receive that, then we're probably not good to just be given to them or be given back and forth. You know what I mean? Because we can't receive it.
yeah, no, exactly. Like, money is a big thing, and I'm not trying to make it all about money, but like you said, like, you can give me $100 to help me in my thing, whatever I'm going through, and I can give you literally 4 hours of my week just being there for you, helping you open up, doing all this, that, and the third. And that's kind of an equal trade, you know, because me giving you my time, not just saying like my time just to like talk or whatever, but to, mentally check your
Oh,
mental
yeah.
health.
It's time, emotional
it's
energy.
priceless.
Yeah. Exactly. So,
It's this priceless thing that I think people don't see as an equal, because money is money, emotions are emotions, time is time, and they want that. They think that's the balance.
and they think it's all separate.
Right.
But
You got to have one of the same, but it's just, you got to understand people are different. It's kind of like love languages, man. It's like, if this person love language is words of affection and this person's physical touch, like, maybe this person isn't really big on physical touch, right? The person who's words of affirmation. And if my thing is physical touch and I'm not getting that, sometimes we feel like, oh, we're not getting the love, this person doesn't love me, blah, 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 because we're not getting the physical love language you want. But at the same time, this person whose words of affirmation is constantly reminding you, like, hey, I think you're amazing. Hey, you look great today. Good morning,
Exactly.
beautiful. Like, oh, they're giving the equal. They're just giving in their way.
exactly.
And just people just don't get that. Like,
And it's
You know?
tough because it's one of those things where, like, it doesn't make you or them a bad person. You know what I mean? That's not what I'm trying to say by this.
yeah, exactly.
But I think there's a certain, like, it's all, we go back to that word awareness. We're like, if this situation isn't working out for me, then I have to be aware enough to be like, I can't give this person what they need. They aren't giving me what I need. So one of us needs to step away. It can't just be like I'm gonna just keep giving, because that's how you end up in what we're talking about, where you're just a wounded healer for everyone, and
exactly.
don't ever lick your own wounds. You know, it's almost like you have to go through. I would argue with each almost like healing situation, whether it's with yourself or with someone else. You have to go through it with this almost awareness of like, okay, am I even able to give this person what they need to heal them? Or do I just need to like sit there, listen, and be like, hey, there's not really much I can do here. Sorry. Like, you know?
Oh,
You
yeah.
can't just always be like, oh yeah, I can do everything for everyone. Like, that's
Exactly.
not how this works.
Exactly. And you just got to recognize that, somebody helping you is not the way you're always going to want it to be.
1000%. 1000%, bro.
You got to take what they're giving. And, the energy might be not to what you want it to be, but to them, they're giving everything. And to you, it's not what you want, so you don't see it as a big impact. But moving on from that is when somebody opens up to you, and you and I have big problems with this, and I'm gonna get I'm gonna get into this about
You
my
see how I went to go rub my neck? I was like,
you
oh.
and I, you know where I'm going with this is when somebody opens up to you, right? How do you distinguish it being a moment of you need to sit there and just listen, and they just need somebody to hear them, or if it's a moment where it's like, oh, this is what you should do? Logistics over emotions.
Brother, this has got
That's
me
a
in so
hard one
much
to
trouble.
navigate.
throughout
So
the
much
past.
trouble. This was a
'Cause-
huge reason for, I'll get into that in a second, but
It's like, it's tough because especially people like us who's more, I feel like we're logically, and I don't want to say this is like a dig because it's not like logic is better than emotion or anything like that. It's just the way I feel like our brains work. We go the logical route first. So if someone comes to me and like, I'm sad, our brain, even though this may not be the right thing, our brain immediately jumps to, all right, how do I fix it? Or if someone says, hey, I have this problem with you doing this, our brain doesn't just go to, okay, let's let them sit in that feeling. Our brain goes, how do I make sure this never happens again? You know what I mean? And that's not always the right route. Sometimes a person, when they come to you with something, they just want you to sit in it with them. You're not there to solve it. You're not there to explain it to them. You're not there to give a different perspective. They want you to just hold that space with them. And I think for people like us, that is the hardest one thing to recognize. But I think what has helped me, and I only got this through couples therapy and all sorts of other online like resources, is that you just have to ask.
Yeah.
Stop playing the guessing game. Stop doing the thing with your brain and actually invite them in and be like, okay, what do you need right now? Do you want a solution? Do you want me to hold you? Do you want to sit here and you vent? What do you need? That's the golden question that can help you avoid, one, burning yourself out and doing all these things and giving in a way that won't be received. The way to, like, again, solution oriented, but the way to solve that problem is to ask that person, what do you need right now?
Yeah, I'm very bad at that. That
Me too.
definitely was.
Oh, I'm horrible.
That was, oh boy, when I tell you I was so terrible about that. Like, I mean, I think with that is like, that's a huge part of being a wounded healer, though. It's like, it's not that we're trying to tell you what to do. It's not that we're saying you need to do this. Like, we're not necessarily trying to fix all the problems. It's some people, like me and you, are like, excuse me, we're the type of people that, like we said earlier, we bury the problems. We don't address our own emotions. So when a friend is in need, we jump to it. So when somebody comes up, and, you know, there was days where my ex-fiance came home and she was venting about something somebody did at work and, you know, how they were being a-holes to her. And to me, it was like, oh, well, if they're treating you this way, then stop talking to them.
Yeah, you should do this.
Exactly. And it's not that I'm trying to tell her what to do. It's, I'm not good at, and I'm learning, I'm not good at registering my own emotions to fix my own emotions. So to me, it's kind of like, when I'm telling her these things, it's like, if this really bothers you, then stop. Like, cut it out, because you're just hurting yourself. Instead of just being here and listening to the problem and just listen to her vent, because, you know, maybe it is just a good friend, and maybe it is a good person at her job that just had a moment, you know. Maybe they had a bad day and they just snapped at work or something like that, and she just wants to vent. And we're just trying to, as wounded healers, just fix the problems, put band-aids on everything, and just kill all that stuff. But yeah, I think that's a very difficult line to understand.
And I think what you said is that it's also multifaceted, right? Like you said, we're just trying to, like, rip the Band-Aid off, solve the problem, da-da-da. That's one thing, right? But we come from a place of, once you've experienced so much pain yourself, you don't want another person to go through that. So you're like, all right, we just need to solve it as quick as possible. And then you won't know the depths of pain that I haven't addressed yet. You won't get to that level that I'm at, you know? So it's almost like I don't want to see you where I'm at, even if I don't consciously admit where I'm at. So there's that. And then there's, what was the other one? I have one more thing about that. And then it's like you said, we don't have all the context. So even though we think, it's almost kind of arrogant in a way. Because you hear one thing, or you hear the one thing from the problem that they expressed, and you're like, all right, I have enough knowledge now to solve your problem. It's like, no, you don't. Like you said, that person could have been having a moment. That person could have been going through something in their own life that's super traumatic right now that caused them to set. You don't know any of this, and yet you still offer a solution like you can see it from all angles. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I think it's kind of like arrogance with good intentions is what I'm going to call it.
Yes, that is the best way to put that.
We're not trying to tell you what to do. We have good intentions. Like my ex-fiance, when she was venting about work, when I'm trying to tell her things that I think she should do instead of just being a listener, I'm only doing that because she's a boundary. I care about her. I want to protect her, you know? And to me, as a man in a relationship, it was, nobody talks to my woman like that. Nobody, blah, blah, you know? It was things like that. And
oh, man,
it's kind of, I was trying to be the protection of her as a person, you know, making sure she doesn't get treated a certain way by others. But at the same time, while I was doing that form of protection, the only protection she needed at that moment was a listener, just so she can feel heard. And so logistical protection and emotional protection, I guess is what I'll call it. Where we're going through the logistics of like, we're not gonna let this happen. This ain't gonna fly. And then she's just, again, she just wants to talk. She doesn't want to do anything about it. She doesn't want an argument about it. She doesn't want me to show up at a job and fight somebody. Like, she doesn't want any of that. She just wants to be heard. And I think that's one of the big things of like people like you and I, when we're just so logistical thinking, we're too busy thinking about the problem that we're not hearing the problem.
Okay.
And if
Yeah,
we
I'd
actually
agree.
hear what the problem is, they'll have a more emotional and mental security, I guess we'll call it. Is they'll feel emotionally safer because they'll feel safer talking to you more, knowing that you're actually listening. Whereas when we're trying to be the protector, it's we're kind of hearing what we want to hear in a way. You know, like we trying to think of an example on the top of my head that we had. But like even I think one of the hardest parts too is like it even goes down to relationships, and I'm sure you and Gray have gone through this situation, and Gray probably reamed you out for this because I've been tore up for this. But it's kind of like one of the biggest things that we as humans have as an issue with along the same lines is like one of the hardest conversations that we have that is hard to hear and listen to is when the venting is about us.
Oh, 1,000%.
So like when your girl or your man is sitting here and is like, hey, I have a problem with this in the relationship, blah, 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 blah. Some of these things aren't logistical fixes. And we're just trying to sit here and be like, oh, I'll fix it.
Yeah,
Oh,
if I do
I
this,
don't-
then that solves
Right.
the problem.
Then
If
it's
I
gonna
do
happen.
X, yeah.
Right. And sometimes actions do speak louder than words all the time. And sometimes the best action is no action because the best action is listening. Just hear her. Because sometimes when we try to go to the defense action, sometimes we fall into the blame game. Oh, I didn't like how I came home from work and had a long day and you didn't fold the laundry today. Then I'm going to sit here and be like, oh, well, I was doing this, that, and the third all day today that I didn't get to it and I thought you were going to do this. And then really what she's just saying is just like, hey, I'm tired. I had a long day. I just needed a little backup. And if I would have just listened in those moments, right, and just been like, that at those moments when you listen, that's the moments where you just be like, all right, my bad. I got you. Rather than being like, oh, well, I'll do it tomorrow when I wake up, blah, 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 blah. Or just being defensive about it and be like, oh, well, I was just busy doing all this today. That's why I didn't do that. Like, all that's unnecessary. Just, I hear you. I got you. My bad. I got it.
And that is something that I still won't even say I'm an adept at. I'm still a novice, a young Padawan in that realm.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, that is a learning experience every day. Like me and Gray had a little spat last night about that, where at the end of it, we just broke it down, and it was like, he was like, all I was trying to tell you is I was overwhelmed in that moment, so I couldn't talk about it. So like, and if I hadn't been defensive, I would have just heard that and stopped. You know what I mean? But I don't want to put words in my couple's therapist's mouth, but I'm pretty sure she said something exactly like this, where you can't listen and be on the defense.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
be on the attack. Listening requires a neutrality.
Yep. You got to meet in the middle, man. You have to meet in the middle. Because we've even been through issues where, you know, she would tell me, and this is a part that comes with listening. You know, one of our issues was, like I said, the whole financial situation with not making enough money at the brewery is she wanted to go more on dates. She wanted to go out on walks, right? And to me, right, I wasn't thinking, because I was kind of hearing a little bit what I wanted to hear. So to me, it was kind of like, yo, we're moving to a new state. Like, I would love to go on dates with you, but with the finances, like going out to lunch once a week, can't really do that. But realistically, the dates could have been something simple, like just sitting at home and building Legos. going for a free nature walk. But I was just so busy with the logistical sides of like, I would love to do this, but let's push it off until we do this, rather than hearing her and just finding different ways. So, how do you recognize if somebody is being a healer to you personally or a distraction from your own healing journey?
I think it's that little fuzzy feeling you get. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. That's a good question. Give it to me one more time. How do you know the difference between a healer and what was the second part?
A distraction from your own healing within your own support system.
I think it's almost kind of what we just talked about, where you can tell when someone's there to listen and hold space and kind of offer whatever you need versus someone sitting there and just kind of like, I don't even know what to call it, but like sitting there and not doing that, if that makes any sense. Like, there's a difference between a person that's like, this happened to me, and they just sit there, okay, so like, how did that make you feel? You okay? Da da da. Versus the person being like, this happened to me, and then the person's like, well, from my experience, all men aren't shit, so you should do this and you should do that. Right. Da 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 da. Like, that's the difference. The person that'll hold the space for you versus you tell them the thing and then they take up all the space. I guess that's the best way to put it. A person that leaves you the space versus the person that once you open up that space, they just take it over with their own shit.
Oh, yeah. You know, and I think there's other ways of that, too. Like, one of the big ones I would say is, like, and this one's kind of actually a double-edged sword, is, you know, sometimes you got people who you're going through things, they want to get you out the house, right? Give you a little... Distractions are not bad. Distractions are a good thing because it gets your mind off of things. But
oh, your brain needs a break like any muscle.
Yeah. Constant distractions are a bad thing. So somebody coming up to you seeing you're hurt, you're sad, you're depressed or whatever, and it's like, hey, let's hit up a brewery, go to Atlantucky, and let's have some beers, right? That's fine. That is okay. But then you got the people who are like, hey, you're sad. Let's go out tonight. We go out tonight. Then tomorrow, hey, let's go out to this bar. We go out to that bar. The next one, hey, let's go to this event. Now it's like 6-7 days in a row. You're going out with this person all the time. And again, distractions are good, but distractions can block you from grief and processing your grief. And sometimes when people are going through things, we as humans really do need to just have a day where we sit in our room and actually process. But if we're actually going through and going out doing things all the time, we're just bottling things in longer and longer and longer. And when the bottle finally opens, it's going to blow. And I think that's kind of a... And again, like you said, too, it's like, I think we do got the people that's like, you know... for my breakup, for an example. I'm sorry to keep bringing it up, but, you know...
No, hey, look, that's a big part of your life right now, bro.
Right.
Like...
So I've told you a lot that's happened, and you have been the entire time, like, I have to give you like a thank you for this, is the entire time you have been such in the gray line, the gray area, right? You've never, ever, ever said or done anything to pick a side. You're always like, yeah, that's right, or yeah, you did wrong here. Justin, you shouldn't have done that. Oh yeah, and you got a point here. Like, it's been like that through the whole time. And, you know, sometimes you, like you said, you got the people that are just being like, you know, oh, F this person. Cut this person out. Block them immediately. You can do better. Blah, 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 blah. Like, you got those people. And it's like, they're feeding you negative energy in a way. And it's kind of one of those, like, when you're hurt, when we are hurt as people, we want to hear what we want to hear. You know, we want to hear, oh, you're a great person. That person isn't good enough, because that makes us feel good.
It validates our pain.
It validates our pain, right? and even one of the biggest things that I believe today is a huge issue is media. Media is actually one of the biggest issues that I
Oh
feel
yeah.
like in terms of like processing grief and all of that, because like social media algorithms. My social media algorithm and my ex's social media algorithm has been two completely different things. My social media algorithm has been about couples therapy, trying again, blah 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 blah. Where her social media algorithm has been like men ain't ish, make sure they let go, block and blah. Right. So it's what I want to hear, and it's what she wants to hear, and that's what
Oh
the
yeah.
media is feeding us. And then we got shows like My Crazy Ex-Boyfriend, and those are popular shows on
Oh yeah.
Netflix and all of that, and that just feeds into our mindsets that kind of distracts us from the actual healing and distracts us from reality in a way, because we're feeding ourselves with so much information from our friends and medias that our friends that are telling us F this person, this and the third, that we block ourselves from the truth and the potential.
Well, people don't realize that social media and even the media that you tend to consume is almost like an echo chamber, because you're not going to go to the media that makes you feel uncomfortable or that makes you question your belief, especially not when you're already going through pain. That's not how the brain works. The
Oh
brain
yeah.
wants the easiest, most feel good avenue of whatever it is. Like even
Oh yeah.
beyond relationships and grief, like anything, the brain, this is the way the brain operates. What is the quickest and least taxing way to get X?
Right.
And so when you're hurt and you know you want that validated, of course you're gonna seek out and then affirm the media. Because then what happens when you see a reel that confirms that, you watch it, maybe you watch it 2 or 3 times. Now the algorithm's like, okay, gives them more of this because they watched this 3 times instead of skipping past it. And now you're just reaffirming something that you may not even feel long term, but now your phone's just gonna keep pushing it to you because of what you've done in this moment. So social media and even like TV shows and the movies we choose to watch, it all,
Oh, music too.
yeah, music, like all of it, like it plays in, it influences us. That's why we call them influencers. Like
Oh yeah.
whether we
Oh
like
yeah.
to admit it or not, it does influence you. But
Oh
it's
yeah.
about, I think, especially in those moments, almost like you have to, like, again, it's a self awareness, right? You have to be like, okay, I just received this, but like almost like seek out the opposite. If you've noticed that you're getting the same type of content over and over again, you should seek out the direct opposite of that. Because now, once you realize that, you realize you're in an echo chamber. And if you're in an echo chamber, you don't get any other perspective. But you have to be self aware of that echo chamber, if that makes any sense. And some people, it's a lot easier. And again, going back to the brain's not going to tell you to get out of that echo chamber. Because that's hard. It's a lot easier to be like, hey, yeah, this feels good. Everybody's saying what I'm thinking when I'm angry, and da 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 da. And I can stay angry because everyone's saying I'm right. Like, it's that thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. Music, I think, is one of the hardest ones. We don't realize does more damage than good in a way. Like, yeah, when you're sad, it's okay to listen to your sad music. I'm not knocking the sad music at all, but some people just consume it. And I think what the problem is what with media and music, and this is kind of why I said I feel like they're the worst ones in social media, is you listen to sad music about breakups, right?
Mm-hmm.
And parts of it relate. It makes it's relatable. But what people don't realize is that's not your story, right? That's
Oh, yeah.
the artist's story, and you may relate to bits and pieces of the story. But like, what's a good one that I'm trying to think of right now, where it's like, maybe you hear a song from an artist you really love, and it's about, oh, I'm heartbroken, I'm sad, my ex was super toxic, he was a manipulator, blah 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 blah, right? The narcissist word that the whole social media loves to use today, that I don't even think half of them even know what it means. But anyway, we listen to that, and it's our favorite artist, and we feel like that artist is speaking to us. But again, maybe your relationship was nowhere near as toxic and manipulative as they're talking about. But because you're feeding that, now you're putting this idea in your head. That's what it was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like
1,000%.
like movies and TV shows. Like you're watching TV shows about crazy exes and you're just over here like, oh, I understand how this guy feels. I understand how this girl feels. And then you're hearing about the toxic thing this person did. And they may list like 10 examples, right? And one of them might be relatable, maybe two. And now you're taking out of the 10 things this person did, one of these things I agree with, I've been through. So now you're seeing that toxic person as your ex, your last person, someone who beefed with you. Like, it really does. It's like, it is a double-edged sword. Like, a lot of these things are double-edged swords. Like, it helps you cope. It helps you, process some things.
Yep.
But at the same time, it blinds you from reality. It blinds you from your own situation, your own grief. Like, I still have to finish listening to it. I've listened to it a few times, but like twice already. But I gotta, when I listen to music, I like to dissect things. And Olivia Rodrigo just came out with an album.
Okay.
Right? And it's like a 2-part album. And the first part of the album is about the ending of a relationship, right? And the second part of the album is about moving on from the breakup, right? Olivia Rodrigo is a huge artist today. And so she has a huge following. And like we said earlier, it's breakup season. So the album could not have come out at such a better time. The album's
they knew it. They knew what they were doing.
Right, they knew what they were doing. The album was a bop. I'm not shitting on the album. But that's Olivia's story. That's not my story. That's not your story. That's not Gray's story. That's not any of our friends' story, any of our family's story. That's Olivia's specific story. And where it makes us feel good. And we relate to a lot of things, when she talks about how gut-wrenching some things are, we feed into it. And we look at a person that way, and sometimes, like, I'll be honest here, like, I was pretty toxic toward the end of the relationship. Like, I wasn't physically abusive. I wasn't mentally manipulating, like I said, I was bottling a lot in. I was getting an attitude, I was trying to navigate and not be a burden. And, at the end of the day, during my whole entire relationship, I've never been able to look at another woman, ever. Never had interest, never, whatever. My loyalty was there. My stand 10 toes down. She was my biggest boundary in the world, and those little attitudes that I had where I would raise my voice and get upset about little things is what my toxic trait was, right? And, my ex did not like that. She hated that part of me because she grew up from a very peaceful, loving family. And I get it. And I come from a family from the South Bronx, And so to her is some of the things that she has told me is that I was very toxic. I was very manipulative, saying things that didn't fully happen, right? And it's kind of one of those, like, media and all that stuff putting into her head that I was this, when I really wasn't that. It was just, I had flaws. I had my issues. I'm human, I'm going to get upset about things. And, is it all the time all right? No. It's not okay. But at the same time, because, like the Olivia Rodrigo album, again, I'm not shitting on the album. Great album. If you haven't heard it yet, listen to it. It is fire. But how Olivia talks about all these aspects of a toxic person, right? I was 1 out of the 10.
I see.
But because it's Olivia, now I'm getting this image on me that's not who I am. I've heard stories of what people say that I'm like, and I'm just sitting here like, huh? Me? Like, yeah, I was being a little a-hole, but at the same time, like, Marcus, I'm one of the most peaceful men you've ever met in your life, bro. Like,
yeah. And I think that goes back to what we were saying earlier, where those people fall into that trap of thinking they have all the context, like the other people. And then in the media side, what was I going to say? I just had it. on the media side of it all, like you said, it's just one aspect, but we extrapolate it so much. We often think like things are black and white, but they're not. They're always some type of gradient of gray. Not even just gray. It's a gradient of gray. And it changes with moments and times. And then it goes even further back to what you said about media influencing us all, is that it's not like these things aren't in isolation. Everything's interconnected. So the way you feel influences what you watch, and what you watch influences how you feel, and that influences how you treat people, and that influences how they see you, and that like it's all this giant ass web. And I know that's kind of woo woo to think about and like spiritually woo woo to hear, but it really is the type of thing where like all is one, one is all, and like even your smallest thing can like have ripple effects in how you treat and do everything else. So like even if you're thinking like, oh, I'm listening to this and I'm not gonna take it that way, your brain is still kind of doing the dance with the concept and da-da-da-da. So, like, there's not really a way to escape it. It's just you have to be aware of it and not fall into that trap of letting it influence you as much. It might even do it a little bit.
Your own thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. Or even, like, if you feel that, question it. Question your own thoughts. Like, you may think, oh, this person's X, and then you have to sit there, well, okay, are they really, or is this just what I'm thinking right now because I'm angry? You know? It's that thing where you have to always question, okay, where is this coming from internally? Like, is this accurate? Like, do I need more information? Like, but most people, and again, that's hard. The brain doesn't want to do that. Most people, it's a lot easier to just go through life, make a declarative statement, and keep it pushing. Or, this is the way it is, and it'll never change, and boom. And that just makes life easier, but it doesn't, you know?
Oh, yeah. I think that's kind of one of the biggest things about Wounded Healers, too, is like, sometimes when we've had enough, right? And this goes back a little bit to when we were talking about like bleeding you dry, right? Sometimes when you had enough and you're just tired of something, you shut down mentally and emotionally, right?
Guilty as charged, Your Honor.
Right. And anger comes into play. And anger is the one emotion that clouds our minds worse than anything else. When you're upset about it, it's whatever you feel is the only thing that matters, right? Whether it's the truth, whether it's the half truth, whether it's 10% the truth, whether it's completely wrong. When you're angry, that's it. That's law, right? And I think a lot of people, when, you know, they go through things in life and they hit the anger phase, the denial phase, right? I feel like that's kind of one of those situations where it's like you're so wounded and you can't just kind of process in a way of like what really is the problem, right? So for instance, like I said earlier, you know, I had an attitude with my ex, and that wasn't at her. It's not what she did. It's not all that. It was all my bottled up emotions. But I was so angry because of all the things I was going to that it clouded my mind. And because it clouded my mind, I didn't see what she was trying to tell me. I didn't see what I was doing that was affecting her, right? And then when the whole breakup finally happened, right, I started seeing too late, and I understand, you know, people don't like that and they hate that like it has to go that far for changes to be made. But it's kind of one of those, after you learn to deal with all of that, you get past the anger, you get past the being the wounded healer and stop bottling in your own problems and start like helping others, and you get past that phase where you start to learn about yourself and you start to learn about your own accountability and things that you like about yourself and things you don't like about yourself. That's when I think everything clicks, right? Because I feel like when we're hurt, right, and I don't know if you've ever been through something like this, it's like when you're hurt, it's like they say, there's three sides to every story, right? So when you're hurt, that's story one. That's your story. That's your truth. Then once you get past the hurt, you start seeing, okay, well, I OD'd a little bit here, right? I went, oh, I probably should have did this a little bit different, right? That's
Yep.
story two. And then when you put those together, you get the truth
Yep.
of what really happened.
1,000%. And like you said, I think in a way it almost makes you, and it's not really about being better or worse. I hate using those type of words, but it makes you, for lack of a better word, a better healer. Because again, you're refilling your cup. You're not just pouring from an empty cup over and over again. You're not operating with this full plate. You'll feel more energy. You'll feel like you have the capacity to understand someone
Yep.
better. You'll feel like you have the capacity to express yourself better because you do it and you're repeating it. It's almost like a skill that you have to learn, like working out or developing any type of skill. The more you do it, the better you get at it. And then the more you do it, the more you realize, oh wow, I was like doing it the wounded way was wrong all along.
Yes. Oh, yeah. The wounded healing is what I like to call forceful healing.
Okay,
It's
what do you mean by
kind of-
that? Tell me more.
It's kind of one of those things to me where it's kind of like we were talking about the media and everything. You're just hearing everything that makes you feel good, that makes you feel better about yourself. And that's not really the proper healing because we're not healing on our own story. We're not healing our own emotions. We're forcing ideas and forcing distractions to the reality of these ideas. And this is kind of where the, oh, I'm fine type of conversation comes in when you're trying to
Yep.
ask somebody like if they need help because they're kind of forcefully healing themselves like, oh, I'm fine, I'm doing better, I'm
Nah,
handling
I'm good.
this
I'll get
better."
through it. I'm
Like,
good.
right. And it's kind of like I think that comes from, in a way, it's kind of almost an ego.
Oh, yeah.
I guess I'll say about it. Like when you're trying to forcefully heal yourself because you want to seem fine, you want to seem like you're okay, you want to seem like the bigger person, you want to seem like you're the better person, you want to, you know, again, not be a burden. But in a way, it's kind of toxic to yourself. Like
Oh,
you're
yeah.
not being toxic to anybody else. You're just kind of being toxic to yourself by thinking you're healing yourself. I know that was a good analogy, huh? That you had to give me a hand clap.
Yeah, that's what that was.
No, but yeah, no, I think that's another issue that a lot of us people go through because I've been there. I've been there so many times where, you know, I've had a lot of family issues where I try to, you know, do my own versions of forceful healings. You know, sometimes one of my biggest forceful healing mechanisms that I actually really did, which ended up doing more damage than healing, was video games. Like, you know, I'm hanging out with my homies, playing 2K, playing Marvel Rivals while I'm going through things, and you know, video games make time go by fast.
Oh, yeah.
And because I'm doing that to distract myself from the emotions that I'm dealing with and the emotions I'm going through and all of that, all of the above, I don't realize that it's actually more self-sabotaging than it is healing. Like I'm thinking I'm being okay. I'm thinking I'm getting happier because I'm playing video games with my friends all the time, right? But the reality of it is, imagine doing that for like a month, right? It becomes a habit. So once it becomes a habit and you're just constantly playing video games, not processing your own self and, you know, constantly going to bars or whatever it is, you push your emotions in so deep inside yourself that you're okay not bringing it back out. Because you don't feel hurt anymore. You don't feel bothered about it because you distracted yourself so long from it. But that doesn't mean you dealt with it.
Oh, no.
Not at all. But you feel better. Like, shoot, you're not laying in bed sad all the time. You're not thinking about this person 24/7. You're not, you know, angry anytime you hear this person's name. Like, you think you got better because time has passed. But you just distracted yourself so long to a point that the problem was never fixed.
And it's one of the things where, like, sure, that may work for now, but what happens when that trigger comes back or something happens that's similar to this, and now all that shit that you thought you would push so far down comes flooding back up?
Oh, yeah. Last two questions that I got before we end this podcast, because I know you got to get yourself to work, is what are some not triggers, but what are some things that you do? I was trying to think of a bigger word, but brain farts. But what are some things that you do that help you recognize and see in other people when they're rejecting help and guidance because of the I'm fine?
You mean
What are
like
some
what?
patterns you notice in them?
I feel like you said, a lot of it comes in the form of distraction. I mean, a lot of people have their own vices. Some people, smoking, drinking, food, video games, sex. Like, it just kind of depends. I think it depends on the person. But I think there's a certain energy that someone carries, and it's not really a conscious thing, but you can just tell because they don't seem grounded. It seems like they feel like they're running from something. You know what I mean? And again, that can come in many forms, but I think it's almost one of them things where, like, you can't hide it. Even if you think you're hiding it well, you can't hide it. Most people can recognize that and be like, all right, this person... I've heard it all the time. They say, like, this person's running from something. They don't know what, but they can clearly tell, like, oh, yeah, they're running from something. And they'll say it, just not to your face,
Hey, some people bury themselves in work.
Yeah.
They take on extra loads at work.
Guilty as charged, Your Honor. Again.
Yeah.
Like,
Take extra shifts. Don't get home till 7, 8 in the morning.
and in that moment, you feel good because you're like, oh, I'm providing value to this and I'm getting this accomplished, but you're still pushing off some shit that you need to do internally. Like all those statements can be true. You can be working hard and doing this great thing and providing value and da-da-da, but you're still not dealing with the shit you need to deal with.
And at the end of the day, that is actually the most important thing that people got to recognize is, like, it's fine, but there's 7 days in a week. I actually saw this on social media, so a lot of people listening to this might actually know that I stole this from social media. But basketball is a 7-game series, 7 days in a week. All you have to do is win 4. You win 4 days in a week, you won the week. And if those 2-3 days that you don't win are your distraction days, cool.
Yeah, I
Go
agree.
to a bar, work overtime. But if you're doing your whole work week, you work 5-6 days in a week, and every single one of those days you're working a 9 to 5, but you're not getting out to 7-8 p.m. You're picking up. You don't work Saturday, Sunday, so you're picking up extra shifts. You're constantly doing that. You're not winning. You're not winning against your mental health. You're not winning against the problem. You're not winning against what's hurting you. You're self-sabotaging yourself more in the long run.
You're gonna exhaust yourself. Like, that's not a pattern you can keep up forever.
Burnout is real, especially emotional burnout.
Yeah, like, it's not sustainable. You're gonna run out of fuel. Like, and I guess that's what I was saying earlier, is that you're refueling by, like, dealing with it and dealing with your wound. You're allowing yourself to finally not let the fuel leak out anymore. Because if you have this opening in your side, no matter how much you fuel from this way, it's just going to leak out until you close the opening.
You pee everything you drink, you poop everything you eat.
This guy.
But last question before I let you go is, this is kind of going to be the more emotional conversation we have, like more vulnerable, I should say, not emotional, is because when we get to this point, anybody that we know watching this, we're not knocking any of you with this next question or this next topic. We're not. So if the shoe fits, don't hate us, don't get pissed at us. We're not attacking. But if you have situations, please share them. Just so others can relate. But again, as wounded healers, we want to help without receiving, and sometimes we're not fully expressive at opening up when we need help or we need something, right? And sometimes when we do, sometimes we don't get it. Like, we don't get that. So like, for instance, you and I aren't people that like to open up like that. That's why we're doing this podcast, because it's forcing us to do this. And like I said, you and I are the type of people where no matter what, you ask for whatever, I got you. But let's say in a situation like you and I weren't like that, right? and we were both just so closed off about how we were feeling emotionally and mentally. And, you know, you might hit me up and be like, hey, can we talk tonight? Like, I can use a friend for an hour. And I'm just like, oh, I'm too busy. You're not normally comfortable opening up, right? And I would theoretically know that about you. And the one time you're reaching out to me to open up, not a purposeful rejection, but it still
But it is a
stings.
rejection.
It
Yeah,
is a rejection.
no, it's still a rejection.
And it stings. It hurts. And, you know, it could be for a valid reason. Like, no, I can't. I have my kids for the weekend. I have this, that, and the third. I'm at a wedding. I can call you tomorrow. Like, it can be something like that. But these are situations and feelings that, like, when it does happen, you kind of almost reassure yourself of, like, this is why I don't open up to people. So have you had any situations or moments where that's actually happened to you? And if you do, can you walk us through of like, what was your mental thought process? Like, what were you feeling when that happened to you?
Oh, 1,000%. I don't want to really use any specific names, but there's definitely been people in my past where like you said, you didn't really get what you needed from them that you thought you'd get. And I think it's like it's an emotional process like anywhere. At least in my experience, it probably started off with a little bit of like rejection and hurt because it's like, oh wow, like I've been, and again, that's ego, right? Because it's like I've been here for you through this, and you can't even give me this little thing that I'm at. You know, it's that you feel all that, which also plays into an anger. And I would say, you know, if you don't deal with that, that can fester into a sort of resentment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then eventually, and at least in my experience, and this wasn't an overnight thing for sure, and still going through it with some people, you know, there's still some people in my life where I'm like, nah, fuck that dude, like da 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 da. Like, but again, you almost there comes a point where you don't let that take up that space of your energy anymore. Where you're like, hey, there's just a person, like I'm a person. We didn't mesh well, but also you know, okay, this is a person where I can't go to them for that. And if I don't have anyone in my life where I can, I need to go find those people. Because those people are out there. It just might not be the people you've surrounded yourself with. Or the people that you've given yourself to so far, you know?
Oh, yeah. I think, so, I was gonna save this conversation for a little bit later, but I feel like it's actually a good moment for now. And, you know, I'll probably address it a little more in the future episodes. But as you know, there was that one time where I was staying at your place and I tried to overdose myself, right? Mm-hmm. And, you know, it was just the pressure was too much. And, you know, like I said, I had a lot of great friends in Atlanta. You know, this was early in a breakup with my ex. And we have a lot of mutual friends, right? Friend like you. You're a good friend to me. You're a good friend to her. She respects the hell out of you, right? And during that time, that was kind of when I was kind of learning to start therapy, when I was learning to be a little more open with my relationship, well, not my relationship, my emotions with people. And during that process, it was tough for me because it was like I told some people who I thought were really close friends, right? And when somebody goes through something like that, right, you would think people would want to check up on you more, you know, step up and kind of help out, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember you were the only person, you, Keisha, my boy Don, and Ian were the only people who stood 10 toes down there for me. Like, y'all were calling me. There was a few other people, but, you know, I'm not going to name everybody. But there was a few other people who called, checked up on me, you know, once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, you know, text me, see how I'm doing, hit me up and being like, hey, you want to go to a bar today? Because, like, you know, if I was willing to go that far, then I'm just home all the time. Obviously, it's not something you get over for one day. And then there was other people who I was really good friends with, right? And they were my friends. And they were friends with my ex too, but they were kind of see her once a month type of friends, where they were seeing me almost every day, hanging out with me every day. And I remember during this whole process, it was just like I'm watching them go out with her every single day to a bar. I'm watching them go out with her to events, taking her to the Beltline, right? And I told these people exactly what I was doing, like what I did, and like where my mental state was. And to me, it just really hurt that it was like, okay, so you have two people who are sad from a breakup, right? And there's one person who, with just life in general, just not even just a breakup, just life in general, got really heavy that he just tried to overdose. And you got one person who's only hurt from a breakup. And you're going out with this person every single night, texting them in group chats every single night. But then this person you don't hit up to do anything with. You don't call to check up on them. But this person you known way longer and a better, closer friend with than this person. And that kind of changed my perspective and feelings on things. And it was just kind of like, I usually try to see the best in people. So to me, during that time was, I wasn't trying to be too upset at them and hurt by it, because at the end of the day, she needs a support system too, right? Do I wish there was kind of a balance? Yeah, of course. But I think the line that was kind of crossed at that point was, there was one day they were like, hey, we're going to do something for you. Before you leave town back to Florida, we're going to do something for you. And that finally made me feel good, because I felt like it was already a week has gone past this point that I tried to do this, and I just felt like nobody was there for me, minus like 3 people, and I just didn't feel like I was being seen. I didn't feel like, I didn't put myself in a mindset again of wanting to end it, but at the same time, it was just kind of like, oh, the mental state I was in was like, oh, well, if I almost did this and nobody's here checking and killing on me, then like if I would have gone through with it, nobody would have cared, right? So when I realized that, and this is kind of what broke me, and kind of like, it was these people host an event for me, right? And they tell me they're going to pick me up super early in the morning. And I know the night before they're hanging out with my ex. And the next morning, they text me about picking me up. I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. I just need like 30 minutes. Let me get showered up, do what I got to do. Then they're like, oh, we'll just pick you up later. And I'm just like, oh, but I'm ready, right? So at 10 a.m. So at like 1 p.m., I get a text, hey, we're on our way. Cool. I'm ready. I'm finally ready to get out this house. And 2:30 comes, an hour and a half later. Right? They don't live that far. It's a 20-minute drive. And so I just make subtle comments. And come to find out that morning, that was supposed to be dedicated to me, the only day within the 7 days that was dedicated to me, they were with my ex, which is cool. I'm not mad about it, but you just saw her 5-6 days in a row. She didn't try to overdose. I tried to overdose. You promised me a whole day. Then you cut my day in half to hang out with her again. It just kind of made me feel really unworthy in a way. And I'm trying to figure exact words to explain it. It's like, because after that, I was really upset, right? And then I went to Florida like 2 days later. And at first, I was a little bothered by it. And I was really bothered by it, actually, not a little bit. But I think what bothered me more was the first week I went to Florida after this. This is like now 2 weeks after I tried to overdose. Not a single text to check up on me.
Damn.
Not a single phone call to check up on me. But still group texts and hanging out with my ex all the time. So it's really devastating in a way when, again, I was not a type of person to open up about these things. I was never the type of person to be like, I'm sad. I feel like I'm going to overdose myself. I've never been that person. That was like the first major time I did that. And to be treated that way on my first time doing it was just kind of it took a lot out of me, and it made me lose faith in a lot of people. And I had to learn for myself of, you know, they weren't going to be healers for me. They were going to be distractions to me. And just holding on to them was just going to continuously be a distraction. So it was a harsh reality. It was a hard reality to understand and go through. And I was this close to just being like, oh, what's the point of opening up again if people are just going to do this again? So I think people need to be a little more conscious. I do too. You know, I'm not the best at it, but I think people just need to be a little more conscious of when people are reaching out for help. And because you don't want someone who's trying to commit suicide or overdose or harm themselves, cut their wrist, like whatever somebody is mentally capable of doing, because all of us are mentally capable of doing something like that with in the worst situation possible. You don't want that person to feel rejected. You don't want that person to feel abandoned, because when they're in that mindset already, they feel already like they're worthless. And by you doing something like that, you're basically you're validating that belief. And then you get defensive about it and be like, oh, that's not true and blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, you did abandon this person. You did, you know, and it's not in a suicidal way, but I've been in situations where I have done that to people, you know, where they've come to me for help and they've come to me for conversations. And my ex, like, you know, she came to me to talk about problems we had, and I dismissed it. I dismissed a lot of things, and I made her feel like she was unworthy, and she started feeling like she was unworthy. So I validated her feelings, excuse me. So I feel like we as wounded healers and anybody watching this, it's okay, you know, if the right people aren't the ones that's being there for you. It's something I'm kind of learning today. It's if these people would have stuck around in my life and I would have kept them around in my life, I don't think I would have been healing and on the journey I am right now. That's you know, right. I feel like this kind of was a wake-up call of the real people I needed to be around. Because, you know, Ian, shout out to Ian, one of the best bosses in the world, complete fool. But Ian,
oh man.
Quick story about Ian, not even a story, just a quick rundown about Ian. He just says the dumbest things in the world. Like he's just, I don't even know how to explain him as a person. And sometimes he says something so stupid that, like, I don't even know how to explain it, but sometimes he says something so dumb, but it's correct, that you're just like, did you just say something retarded, or did you...
Or genius.
Yeah, are you a genius? Like, I can't even tell. Like, there's even situations where, like... for instance, during my breakup, I mean, quick story. During my breakup, he's sitting here, he's talking hella trash. That's what Ian does. Ian loves to talk trash. And during his trash rant, he goes, yeah, Justin, it don't matter how many shots, like, you got to take all the shots, you know, you miss every shot you don't take and blah, blah, blah. The only shot that matters at the end of the day is when you go Jordan game 7 and hit the game winner. And I'm sitting here like, and he's talking to me about getting my ex back. So I'm just sitting here like, what the hell did you just say? But also, Jordan game 7. Yeah. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, he's right. But like, that's Ian, right? And with that being said, with Ian, he's called me multiple times just to check up on me. And he's had some real conversations with me on the phone that I would have never saw in him. And during that whole process, like, I told Ian, because he's my boss and my boy, and, you know, it was kind of one of those, when I would have left to Florida, I would have kept in contact with Ian as just a friend. And these other people who did what they did that I just shared the story was, I would have texted them all the time, right? But I had to go through that situation to know these people were not the healers I needed. And Ian stepped in. And Ian became someone I relied heavily on. Just like yourself, but that was always the day one thing. So I think God kind of puts people in the right place at the right time. Some people you don't think or expect are the people you need to be around, are the people you do need to be around. And some of the people that you want to be around and expect them to be around are not the best people for you to be around. And distractions, distractions and healers.
Playing into that, I think I read, I can't remember the exact quote, but basically said something where you have to let go of not even the wrong friends, but you have to let go of some people to make space for others. So the same way you had to let go of those people who aren't, I don't even want to say are bad people, but the people that weren't right for you, you had to put them over here so that you had the space to accept the people who are right for you. And it's that played out so like all over. But like being a wounded healer, I think part of the things we struggle with and what keeps people wounded in that way is it's almost like you said that you got affirmed of, where we don't think we deserve that healing. We don't. We think that our purpose is this pain and the suffering I'm going through. I deserve that. And also, I deserve the punishment of helping everybody else close their wound without getting mine closed. And I think you have to almost get past that belief within yourself that you are worthy. You do deserve love. You do deserve help. You do deserve this wound that you felt to be closed up. And you deserve the right people in your life to do it.
Yep.
But that takes work. That takes
journey with.
Yeah, it takes work. It takes hardship. It's difficult. It's all these things that just letting the wound sit there and never go address. It's all the shit that comes with that, you know? So either you can let it be unaddressed and get affected and do the hard work later, or you can do the hard work now. But you're still going to have to do the hard work.
You can't run from hard work, man. You cannot run from the work. But any final words you got before we close out of here?
I think I really want what I just said to be heard, especially for people who may feel like this, that you do deserve love. You deserve healing. You deserve to be able to take your own journey and not to sacrifice yourself for others. You deserve the right people in your life. You deserve people that will accept you, not reject you. You deserve all this, even if right now you feel like you don't. And I hope that listening to this and the future episodes we plan on doing, that like, even if it's a little by little, that eventually you come to truly believe that, the same way I had to learn to believe that, you know?
Oh, yeah. No, I agree. And, exactly what Marcus said. Like, hey, if nobody told you today, you are loved, you are amazing, you are worthy, you got this. It's something I got to remind myself every day when I wake up today and while I'm on this journey. And you guys will hopefully see a lot of the growth that Marcus and I go through. We're talking to this. Like, we are all worthy. We are all capable of amazing things. So don't give up. The journey is going to be hard, man. It's going to be hard. But just stay on the right track. Take your accountability. Stop being a wounded healer. Be a healthy healer. That's what we want. We want you all to be healthy healers.
And then shoot, what's the title of our podcast? You got to take it 1 second at a time, bro. That's the only way through. 1 foot in front of the other. 1 day, 1 second, whatever you need to do. Yep.
Hey, last thing I'll say is, hey, it's going to be a long stairwell up. It's going to be a long stairwell up. And, some days you're going to take 5 steps up. Some days you'll fall down 1 step. Some days you'll take 2 steps up. Some days you'll fall 10 steps. But don't look up to where the end of the stairs is. Don't look for the future. Just take it step by step. 1 second at a time. Just worry about the second in front of you. Worry about the step in front of you. Eventually, you'll make the top. I believe that. Eventually, we will all make it to the top. So thank you for tuning in. Again, this has been the 1 Second at a Time podcast, Season 1. Season 1, we are dealing with the first stage of grief. Stay tuned for more episodes. Thank you for tuning in. Marcus, thank you for doing this with me. Thank you for being here.
It's been a pleasure. I'm looking forward to doing more, man.
Absolutely. All right, man. You guys all be safe out there. Much love.
Love y'all.